Zoti Urias, faleminderit për këtë intervistë. Pas 4 vitesh në Shqipëri, ku ju keni drejtuar misionin Euralius, misioni i asistencës së Bashkimit Evropian për sistemin e drejtësisë shqiptare, si do ta përshkruanit situatën në sistemin gjyqësor dhe sistemin e drejtësisë shqiptare?
The general situation of the justice, I think it's very bad. I don't want to be pessimistic, but I think that in the last 4 years, the situation has not improved. To be honest, from the first moment I came to Albania until now, the justice should be the key institution for the rule of law, for the state of rule of law. The justice is the institution who guarantee that the people is respecting the laws, and in Albania the situation is that the justice is not able to guarantee that people feel protected by the rule of law. So the situation is that because of the lack of efficiency and because of the shortcomings in the justice, the people in Albania, they don't feel like living in a state based in the rule of law.
Sipas jush, cilat janë problemet kryesore? Në Shqipëri flitet shumë për korrupsion, për lidhje politike, për ndikim politik.
The most important problem, probably number one, is the corruption. But the corruption is not, as people think, it's not only about taking money. Corruption means also that many judicial decisions are taken by political influence. Corruption is every time you take a decision which is not based in the law, but is based in other interests. So probably the main problem is corruption. Corruption is including also the political interference in the justice. And of course, there is a problem of a lack of resources. The budget of in Albania, the budget that the Albanian government is using for justice is the lowest one in all the Balkans and one of the lowest in all Europe. So it's a very little amount of money what's being used for the justice. And of course, the organization of the courts is not according with what should be needed. So if you want a fast reaction, would be corruption, political influence, lack of budget and deficient organization.
Ju flisni për korrupsion. Në të vërtetë flitet shumë, por sipas jush apo sipas përshtypjes që ju keni krijuar gjatë gjithë këtyre viteve, sa i përhapur është ky dhe sa i thellë është dhe sa i rëndë është si fenomen?
Corruption, it's very difficult to give concrete numbers because the corruption is never prosecuted. So a former Minister of Justice once told me, we have no corruption because no one judge never went to jail. And I say, no, this is why you have corruption. So I cannot give you numbers of the corruption, but we have the perception. So I can give you a few examples. Every time I speak with a judge, and I ask to a judge, what do you think about corruption? Every judge in Albania, I've been speaking with many judges, every judge say to me, I am not corrupted, but all my friends, all my colleagues, they are corrupted. So if everybody thinks that the others are corrupted, means that there is corruption. First point. Second point, every time you speak with a citizen who is going to the court for whatever case, if it's getting the heritage from your family, if it's a problem with your properties, whatever one, every citizen says that the first thing he was asked was to pay for the judge, for the prosecutor, for the lawyer, to give supplementary money. So probably we cannot demonstrate concrete numbers, but the corruption is a big problem. And if you want to know my opinion, it's important to understand that corruption is not only that the judges, when they decide based in money, but the corruption is also inside the system of judicial organization. This is not my personal opinion, that they said even in the parliament, so I can say publicly, that the judges, when they want to be promoted, the biggest promotion in Albania is to come to Tirana, because the Tirana courts are career courts, and so all the judges, the dream is one day to arrive to Tirana, and prosecutors the same thing. And obviously the system of transfer of judges is based in corruption. I will not say that in every case, but we have heard in the parliament and we have heard in private conversations that the judges have to pay money for being promoted. So the corruption is not only when the judge decides or the prosecutor participates. The corruption is also in how to be organized, how to be transferred. So it's a system totally corrupt. In the internal organization, also in the courts, the chair of the courts, they decide the allocation of cases, in many cases, without any control. They decide the people to be hired, so the secretaries are hired without any competition. So the entire system is corrupted. For being secretary in a court, you don't pass a competition. For the cases to be allocated to one judge or the other, there is not a transparent system. For the judge to be promoted, neither. So it's the entire system based in corruption.
Ju përmendët si një formë të korrupsionit edhe në ndikimin politik apo ndërhyrjet politike. Sa I përhapur është ky fenomen?
Yeah, it's very linked to the other thing. In my opinion, again, because we have no data, politicians in Albania, they know how important is to control judges. This is for all the parties. It's important that in case somebody will attack you, in case somebody will or in case you will attack somebody, it's better to have some control on the judges. How do they do it? Many different ways. I mean, sometimes some judges are promoted not paying, but having political support. When it's about to appoint judges for the highest courts, of course, if you are somebody involved in politics or with good relations, you will be promoted. I can give you an example, which has been monitored by all the international organizations, that all the judges participating in difficult cases where the citizens were really angry, Gerdec, 21st of January, in the important cases, after the case is finished, all the judges normally are promoted. This is, maybe it's a casualty, maybe it's randomly happening. But of course, it's easy to think that sometimes there is, I cannot accuse concretely, but the perception is that there is an exchange of favor. I'm good with you, and in the future you will be good with me. So as far as here the system allows a big interference of a parliament, of a ministry, and of President of Republic, of politics, into the justice, it's normal to imagine that many judges, they try to be comfortable to the politicians because they will get a favor back. So the system is allowing too much interference and the judges are using it, that's clear.
Më qenë në gjithë këto vite është folur për reforma në drejtësi edhe në raportet e Bashkimit Evropian, në përmendur që vendi ka bërë përpara në reformat në drejtësi. Por ndërkohë ju flisni për një situatë e cila nuk është përmirësuar. Këto kanë qenë reforma që nuk kanë patur efikasitetin e dur apo nuk janë zbatuar siç duhet, pra kanë mbetur thjesht reforma në letër.
The problem of the reforms are several problems. One very usual problem, and I think it's a problem that we see every day, is that most of the reforms of the justice are done not because Albania wants, but because the European Union is asking to do it. So as far as it's a request of the European Union, the Albanian authorities, they don't try to really amend the situation, but they try to give a candy to the European Union. So in the time I have been here, I've been even participating in many reforms, in many laws, which I will not say they are bad because there is an improvement, but they don't tackle the big problems. Because whenever European Union say, for example, you have to reform the High Court, you can make a law for the High Court which is not tackling the real problem of the High Court. But you say, I did it. So you think you will get a candidacy because you did this law, even if the content is not as good as should be. It could be the same thing for the reform of the Civil Procedure Code. It will be the same thing for the reform of Constitutional Court, which has not been done, but they wanted to do a very, very light reform. It will be the same for the reform of the High Council of Justice. In every institution, they address reforms which are the name, we are reforming this institution, but the content is light. They don't really do as should be done. But it's not that they don't know what to do. To be honest, the experts, Albanian experts, in Albania you have a very good experts, international experts. You have been receiving assistance of the best European and international experts, and many of them are here. They know what to do. The politicians, they don't do it. They just do half of the reform because many times if you make a big reform, you will lose some privilege. So they don't want to lose privilege.
Shumica e re, cila është tashmë në pushtet, ka njoftuar edhe ditët e fundit nisjen e një reforme të thellë dhe të gjithanshme në drejtësi. Sipas jush, cilat duhet të jenë ndërhyrjet kryesore që janë më emergjente, më urgjente për të realizuar?
This is easy. This is easy because when the new government arrived with the new majority, they received they made a draft with the support of the internationals and of the Venice Commission on what could be the real reform to do. They know if they want to do. The reform includes first point, and is absolutely need reform of the Constitution. And when I say reform of the Constitution, I mean a reform made with the support also of the opposition and with a general consensus in the country. In the Constitution, you have to take out the High Court. High Court is the most important court in the country, and now the judges are elected by the parliament, by simple majority. So the leading majority can put always the judges in the High Court. This is unacceptable in every country in the world. So you have to take out the High Court from the parliament. You have to change the High Council of Justice. High Council of Justice is the body who guarantees independence of the judges, and now is not. So in the High Council of Justice, you have to take out the fact that the President of the Republic, which is a politician, is participating. You have to take out the participation of the Ministry of Justice, because he's again a politician. You have to increase the independence of the members of the High Council of Justice, but also the responsibility. You have to put in the Constitution that members of High Council of Justice who don't follow the law, they get dismissed. And you have also to put that they cannot decide on factual things. And more reforms. The General Prosecutor in Albania is again elected by the parliament, which poses some problems. Plus, he has a very big power over the other prosecutors. So it should be changed in the Constitution that the election of the General Prosecutor should be done, if you want to keep in the parliament, with the support of all the political parties, not the ruling majority. I don't put my General Prosecutor. Plus, the General Prosecutor cannot be a kind of dictator who takes all the decisions in prosecuting matters. Every single prosecutor has to be independent for taking decisions in the case. Prosecutors are like judges. So you cannot have a hierarchy where the General Prosecutor gives orders. So that has to be changed in the Constitution and in the reality. You have to amend also probably the Constitutional Court, which have some procedures which are very confusing, and is the most important court of the country, and it should be more clear which are the competences and which are the procedures. And if you want me to finish, the big reform to do also in the system of justice is the organization of the courts. The courts are organized like a family. The chair of the court is deciding who is the secretary. There's no transparent system. They don't have an IT system for the entire country which allow the citizen to know judicial decisions. European Union has paid €1 million for a system of informatics in all the courts. No government in the last 7 years, no one government has wanted to put it in all the courts in the country. They have to put it because this is a system which allows the citizen to know when you have the trial, when is your decision, allows the inspections, stop the corruption. So that has to be amended. So the reform is easy. I mean, Constitution, main institutions to make them more independent like in other countries, and organization of the justice to make it more professional and with more control. I will not say it's easy, but we know what to do. The problem is if you have the political will to do or not.
Së fundi, Ministri i Drejtësisë ka paraqitur një draft për ndryshimet në ligjin për Këshillin e Lartë të Drejtësisë. Ju si mendoni, a është i mjaftueshëm? A i zgjidh problemet për cilat edhe ju folët?
This is a good example, because it's very recent, but it's a good example of what's happening in Albania. We all agree that the High Council of Justice needs a big reform. It needs a big reform because it should be the body controlling judges, protecting and controlling, and it's not happening. The number of disciplinary procedures is very low. The evaluation, the judges are evaluated. The performance of judges is evaluated in Albania But it's evaluated by inspectors, which are very independent and very good, but then the final evaluation is voted by the members, who is voting. So at the end, all the judges in Albania are very good. The decisions in the High Council of Justice, they are taken without motivation. They decide, this judge will go to this court. They don't have to explain. They decide, the former general prosecutor in Arama, they decide, you cannot go back to this court you have requested. And they don't explain why. So the decision should be motivated. They have many problems. The reform which has been presented by government is not tackling those problems. The reform presented by government is only trying to impose stricter disciplinary rules on the members for allowing in the future to take out the members and to put their own members. Currently, the big majority of the members of the High Council of Justice, because of the system allowing it, they are very close to the former ruling majority. They are because it's legal, because they are elected by the majority in the parliament, so they represent former government. So new government, they want, new majority, want to put their own people. So my impression is that the reform, it's more focused in making the situation possible for putting other people than changing the substance. And the substance is that the President of the Republic should have only a protocolary role, but should not participate in the debates of the High Council of Justice. Minister of Justice, neither. In Albania, the sanctions against the judges and the inspections are done by government. It makes no sense. Government cannot prosecute the judges which are not comfortable. So Minister of Justice should reduce competence in the High Council of Justice. There are many reforms to be done that are not in this reform. This reform is a good step. We always say, this is a good step. It's a good step. But if they could do a big reform, they are not addressing. They are addressing only partially. They are not allowing, with the new law, the High Council of Justice to be an independent body who is making his function.
Zoti Urias, në gjithë këtë bisedë, pak a shumë u shfaq një panoramë e zymë të sistemit të drejtësisë, por a ndjen një përgjegjësi edhe misioni Euralius, i cili për 4 vjet ishte këtu për dhënë asistencë.
Yeah, the mission Euralius has been even longer because we have finished now the Euralius 3. So mission Euralius has been here already from ever, I would say 7 years, 8. The problem is that the Euralius mission has 2 aims: to give to the institutions the support of international experts, which are giving advices, and also to inform European Union on how it's going, the progress. In my opinion, all the experts from Euralius mission has been quite good, but the mission of Euralius cannot be done if you don't have 2 things. You need political will in the Albanian authorities, and you need somebody listening in European Union. And I think both things we didn't have. I mean, with the governments, Euralius had different situations. I have to say, honestly speaking, with some ministers, we had very good relation. They took many of our proposals, but it's always the same thing. If we propose to amend, for example, to make all the officials in the court civil servant, government will say yes. But then they change a bit and they say, everybody will be civil servant, but we will not make a competition. We will keep our people. When I propose, no, you make a new competition, say, no, we keep our people. So they make the reform, but they don't make so much. So the lack of will has always been there. Second problem is European Union. European Union, the European Commission is trying to present as a technical view, which are political views. So we are experts. We are working the technical issue. So very often we warn the European Commission, and we say to the European Commission, here they have no progress, or they have very little progress. But European Commission is working with political interests. So year after year they make a progress report where lately they are trying to highlight progresses. And I'm very happy. I hope Albania will get the candidacy. But what you cannot, it's tell that there are progresses when they are not. Because in that case, Albania don't feel incentivized. So the situation is, I could give you examples. European Union is asking already for 7 years to put in all the courts an IT system, which reduce the corruption and which control the judges. Every year, the progress report, every year, say big progresses have been done in putting the IT system in all the courts, and in next month it will be finished. In 7 years, we are telling it will be finished. It has never been finished, but still they say it because like that it's a progress and they don't want to hamper. The reality is that the European Commission knows that the progress in Albania, in justice area, they are not so relevant, and the European Commission is not being strong enough with the different Albanian governments for pushing them to make the reforms that we need. So our mission may be efficient, but if the government does not have the political will and the European Commission is not strong for really telling the truth and for really pushing them to make reforms, the reforms will never be done. Thank you to you for the work you are doing and for the opportunity you are giving.